today.
Steel town sky, Lake Erie wind, old scar stitched in a second skin. We were raised on cold and fight, every heartbeat red and white. Echo in the boards, crowd breathing fire, names on the glass like a funeral pyre. This is our house, this is our sound from the Cleveland concrete of gold. Let's go crunch, screaming till your chest caves in. Cleveland loud, we rise again. Red and white in the blood we punch, from the first face off to the final crunch. Turn the volume past the pain, Ohio hearts in the heavy rain. Every head, every rush, Cleveland lives in the let's go crunch. Let's go crunch. We've got storm.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Let's Go Crunch podcast, part of the Land Media Group. I am Ethan Greenberg, and alongside of me is Drew Hagenbaugh. Drew, how are we doing this evening, sir?
I'm doing fantastic, man. Coming off a great win last night, so we're feeling good.
Absolutely. And behind the scenes, we've got our man, Mike Wilkes. Thank you to Mike behind the scenes. Again, we should have a fantastic show this evening. Thank you very much for tuning in. We got Mike from across the pond. And hey, a brilliant intro to the podcast. Thankful to Mike Wilkes for all the hard work he does, the graphics and everything of that nature. Awesome stuff. We've got a great show for everybody tonight. So glad that you're here with us this evening. Drew, you excited about our guest tonight?
I'm excited, man. This is a great guest we have today.
A voice of the crunch with a podcast for the crunch, about the crunch. Joining us tonight, folks, is going to be the voice of the Cleveland Crunch, the one, the only, Kevan Arnold. Kevan Arnold, you might know him from listening to all the broadcasts and many other places. Kevan Arnold, how are you, sir? Welcome to the podcast.
Dude, I'm so good. I need like a copy of that song, man. Like that got me going.
Dang. Well, I'll let Mike send it over to you. I think he can do that. I can't quite play that. I worked on the recorder maybe, earlier. It didn't sound so good,
Yeah, I got you. Yeah. Yeah. Happy to be here, guys. I mean, yeah, I do a lot of things, don't I?
You do. Absolutely. If folks, if you don't know who Kevan Arnold is, besides being the voice of the Cleveland Crunch,
It's okay if you don't know me.
I mean, you should. I mean, how would
Just
you
say
not
it.
know him? High school hysteria, Friday nights during the high school football season on ESPN Cleveland. You are one half of the Buckeye Boys, along with Nick Paulus. I'm doing the wrong letters, but that's okay. I'm losing track of it. You are a host of the Voice of the Land podcast, and you're a husband, you're a dad,
Yep.
and you're a darn fine person.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah. Hey, like I said, I mean, Crunch people probably know me, but I always say every time I do a show at ESPN Cleveland, like if people don't know me, it's totally okay. It's totally okay. I'm very humble in myself. So I always think I can always do a better job whenever I do stuff like this. So, that's just who I am.
Yeah, well, we definitely appreciate the humility for sure. And I try and do the same, but it is great to have you on. So wonderful. And I think just for people who don't know you and, may just find this interesting, I, want to find out a little bit more about your love of soccer and your experience as the voice of the Cleveland Crunch. How did you get into soccer? I mean, was that something just at a young age you picked up a ball and started getting into it and then watching in the broadcasting?
Yeah, it was. My dad tries to. I don't have any memory of this, but he tells me that it was him that got me into the sport. I always thought that I did it on my own. That soccer was my own thing. He said he used to take me to Cleveland State games all the time. I don't have any memory of that, so I'm just gonna go with it was my doing. It was me being my own individual self from I'd say 5 years old Really got into it and went to Crunch games. Like that was the only ticket we could afford. I did the Crunch soccer camps during the summer, like basically every single year of elementary school. I didn't play organized soccer until I was in 6th grade. Like we didn't have the means. We didn't have the ability to play on an actual team. It wasn't until my 6th grade math teacher, who had just started the middle school team that year, finally got a middle school soccer program going, convinced my parents, because he'd already taught my sister and like knew that, I was a little different than my sister, was probably going to be a little better. Don't tell her I said that. But he convinced my parents to have me go out for the team that was like put together of like that second group that was going to be a part of the team. So got a chance to do that, played all the way through high school. Wanted to try to walk on at Cleveland State. There just wasn't a spot. So I got into coaching very, very early. As soon as I was done in high school, did that. I was the assistant at the middle school. Then I did travel for a while. Shout out to I used to call my Wycliffe Minions. It started as a co-ed travel team, if I'm being honest. The only reason it was co-ed is because there was 3 boys on the team. I had most of the girls on the team, and they were tough as nails. I learned so much from them and their families, more than I could ever imagine. I can't thank them enough for everything they've done, and I'm still friends with all of the families and all the kids to this day. One of them is now playing. One of them is playing at Malone. Another one is playing at Mercyhurst, which she was part of the first recruiting class as they changed to Division I. So very proud of both of them for what they're doing. And then got into, as I was trying to become a teacher, there was just this voice in my head, and I mean, pun intended, I guess, that was saying, I love teaching, I love working with kids, but there's just something that I'm more passionate about, and it was always sports. And so I took a shot at myself, went to Ohio Media School, started doing that, and I got to give all the credit for doing play-by-play to Peter Tellep, because he is the one behind the scenes of all the Crunch soccer games, LPV productions, and it was actually 2020 during COVID when high school football was actually happening that season, but only 6 games and no one could go. And he came to myself and the original co-host of The Voice of Land, Nick Paulus, who you can also hear the other half of the Buckeye Boys on ESPN Cleveland.
Yep.
Before I go ask Ohio Media School students if they want intern hours, would either of you or both of you be interested in doing play-by-play in color? Because I've been offered by the Chagrin Valley Conference to live stream football games with no one able to go to games. Nick said, he had a lot going on, which totally understandable. And it was at that point, that was the first time I was very uncomfortable and yet said yes, was open to an opportunity, said yes. And then, the original voice, Mark Munch Bishop, got sick during that year. And it's good that he is back. And I always give him that credit. But I got a chance to call a few of the games that first season that the Crunch are back. And I guess fast forward to now, I'm the voice of the Crunch, which is crazy to me. And now we're back at the Wolstein Center. It used to be the Convocations. It's all crazy, guys. Like that's a long-winded answer. I'm sorry.
No, that's perfect. Look,
Yeah.
First of all, Kevin, you read my notes without seeing my notes, because you went through multiple points and things that I was going to ask you. I'm like, well, this guy, either I'm terrible at asking questions or this guy's just a good interview. I'm going to go with you're a good interview. That's got to be what it is.
I just knew the questions that were coming, so I figured let's get the boring backstory out of the way and get to the guys that really matter, and that's those in the red, white, and black and on the field.
Absolutely. I mean, it's just an amazing trajectory and an amazing story in a very young broadcasting career. You've already accomplished a lot, and you're on your way. It's very good stuff. Although we do need to ask you, how did you become a Man U supporter?
That was actually the same age, 5 years old. My dad actually bought a VHS tape. And people probably don't think that I know what VHS tapes are, but I do. That was my era, basically, as a kid. And he bought one of David Beckham and a story about him. And oh my gosh, really? Why? You're in the other room. You know this. My gosh, that's my wife that's
I
jumping in
know.
to say that.
I saw that and I was like, I gotta put this up. This
Yeah,
is good. This
yeah.
is
That's
good.
hilarious.
But yeah, so I watched that, and my favorite color was always red. So like it just kind of drew me in, and then from that point on, I was a fan. People tell me that oh, you're just like you say you hate the Yankees, but you're jumping on with Manchester United, which was considered kind of like that at one point. But look, it's been a long time since I've been a Manchester United fan. So people can tell me all they want. They can try to criticize me all they want. I know my story, and that's all that matters.
You're sticking to it. And now, in fact, it's not so much the bandwagon because they're kind of middling, just like, they're not at the top of the table anymore in the in the Premier League. So, hey, but they got a big win. They got a big win over City. That was a great one there.
Yep.
Good times there. Drew, I don't want to, monopolize anything here. Please feel free to jump in. So I'm not
No, I'm just enjoying the conversation. I mean, this is a man I met at Ohio Media School, and just being the only two at that building who actually like soccer, it was always nice to actually have someone to talk soccer with. So, it's always a great time hearing Kevin and, listening to him talk, especially on ESPN Cleveland. He does such a phenomenal job. So if you guys don't know, man, check out ESPN Cleveland and Kevin. Like, this guy does such phenomenal work, and he's amazing.
I'm the man in the box. Like you're not supposed to know who I am. That's
right. All right. Yeah. Well, as one Gerard Cherry calls you, Kevy Kev.
Yes.
Back there. There it is. So what do you think about the Crunch returning to the Wolstein Center, returning to downtown, and being in this nice, very, very nice venue, much larger venue than where they've been?
It's where they're supposed to be, and it's like the Crunch should be in the heart of downtown. Look, I thank the people that are involved and run the Soccer Sportsplex in North Olmsted, Ohio, very much. Like I thank them for opening their doors as long as they have. I think the goal was always to try to get a bigger venue, and I think that they knew that, but they try to accommodate. And I think that they, even with fire marshal laws and all that type of stuff, I think that they pushed that envelope as far as they could, and they allotted that, and they were always doing a great job afterwards cleaning up. Like I was one of those people that, like, right at the end, we're done cleaning up our stuff with Peter, and I was trying to help them pick up because they got to stay late for those games and everything. So I think that was the perfect place to kind of get things reinvigorated. But the feeling that everybody had when the playoffs were downtown last year, I think really kind of it invoked this energy and this push beyond just the people involved with the Crunch organization to get them back where they belong. And it is goosebump worthy emotion and energy, because all I could do when I was calling that game against Chicago now, a little over a week ago, all I could do, I could just picture my 5, 6, 7-year-old self in the seats, like right below where we were calling the game from, and taking in the action and remembering the bobbleheads they would give out and all the soccer balls flying into the stands, and the way that the family atmosphere was just always so well put together, and one of the best presentations I think any team has done. And now, of course, the other teams have definitely taken on that mantle over the years, but definitely one of the best family presentations you could ever imagine and hope for, paying that kind of, paying money and going to see these guys play.
Yeah, definitely it's a good value proposition, return on investment, a good ROI there. Did I see recently you got gifted? Did you get gifted a jersey recently? Was it a Marinero jersey that you got recently? Am I seeing that correctly, Kevin?
Yeah, I believe it was Jim Wagner who works with Peter and worked with him. I think, he's trying to enjoy some retirement, but helps out and he still can with LPV. But I'm not going to pick it up. It's really heavy, but like it's right over here. We're still trying to find the right place for it. We got toys all over the house right now, so it's like, I'm trying to keep it nice for right now. It's in a nice it's signed, it's in a nice frame and all that kind of stuff, so I'm keeping it safe. And kind of when we get some more, open up a little more space around here, it'll make sure we go up on the wall. But that thing is heavy. It is beautiful. It is I can't thank Jim enough for handing that down to me.
That is amazing. Not only is the Crunch back downtown, but soccer is building. The momentum is building in Northeast Ohio, with the Cleveland Professional Soccer Group. There's and other soccer teams, in the area. How much is it, or how fun is it for you to kind of see that growth going on right before your eyes?
It means everything to me. We all know the big sports and how much they're going to draw, and everybody wants to talk, coaching searches and all of that. And Browns will always be number one if you do a ranking system. I hate rankings. I hate ranking the teams. It is the absolute. It is the low hanging fruit. Is the easy thing to do in our kind of business in this content industry, but it is the absolute worst. I hate doing it. And people would hate my rankings anyways if I actually gave them. So I'm not going to do that. But we all know like what drives the conversation. My father was the basketball guy. He taught me the history of it, the NBA, everything about it. And then my late grandfather, he was the baseball guy. He had the 20, 30 game season tickets to Indians games. I can still tell you it was section 109, row S, seats 12 and 13 every single year. I know exactly what that was. And my sister and I would kind of split the Sunday games that they got throughout the season. One would go with my aunt or my grandpa, and then the other one would go another time. But look, soccer has always been what's held the deepest part of my heart. And I love seeing the growth in this area. I think that there's always been talent in this area. I think there's always been a great soccer community in this area, but one that was a sleeping giant that needed a bigger platform. And I'm kind of hoping that with the crunch now downtown and with us being on Rock Entertainment, WKYC Plus, like WOBL radio, like all these different platforms that our broadcast gets put out there for people. I'm hoping that is just the springboard for all these other teams that are going to come in. I know I saw someone say Lorain County Leviathans are coming as well. And I'm going to put my name out there. Like, I typically don't do this. Any involvement in any soccer team, Cleveland Pro Soccer Group.
Hey,
look, I'm here.
You got to promote yourself, Kevin. You got to be your own best advocate.
I'll be the janitor. I don't care. Just to be around the game. Like, I don't. Yeah. I'll start from the bottom of everything. If soccer becomes what I want it to be in this area, I want to be a part of it as much as I can, and just be a beacon of promotion for this great game.
Yeah, absolutely. And we were talking, and you mentioned just about the broadcast avenues that have come about this year. Mm-hmm. And just kind of funny enough, we watched the game yesterday. You probably caught some of it in Pittsburgh. Mike across the pond, he's watching games at all hours of the night, but he was saying, we were talking about the Wolstein Center, the atmosphere and such, so it kind of was no atmosphere, but it was very good play-by-play, only second to you. Today,
put me at the bottom of the list, please. Since every list is put me at the bottom.
All right. Well, Drew, we're sitting here this afternoon, and we got to ask you about this. Drew, I'll let you ask this question here because this is great.
So I had a kind of like a goofy question for you, Kevin, because obviously being the play-by-play, you want to be, correct with the names. Obviously, you want to make sure people's names are pronounced correctly. We're talking about the game in Fort Wayne. We were talking about, the game yesterday, Omar Narjar and, some of these other names that have been, as a play-by-play guy, how does it really irk you a little bit when people kind of get names wrong? I know you guys kind of have to outsource for player names and, pronunciations, does it kind of like upset you just like a tiny bit when someone gets like a name wrong? Like, come on, you could try a little harder.
So early on when I started doing this, and again, I was not one of those people that ever thought play-by-play was going to be something that I did. You hear all the stories like Marv Albert and Bob Costas and all those guys, like the late great Jim Donovan, like they turned down their TVs and they called the games themselves. I didn't do that. I was just there to watch. Like I wasn't it never really crossed my mind. And then, like I said, with high school football, as much as I kind of loved that and loved the atmosphere, like I said yes to an opportunity and didn't know if I'd be any good, didn't know. And then it's kind of, it's something I'm still growing on. Like, I don't think I'm anywhere near like where I should be, even like at a good level. But that's just me being self-critical. So I would say early on that kind of like irked me. Like when other people didn't take like that's what I was taught was supposed to be the same level of preparation. It doesn't anymore. It actually probably irks Jana, my wife, more, because she's always like, she's doing like what you did, like Omar Narjar, like Nagi, like I was like,
not gonna work here anymore.
Yeah, but I also understand like there is, there are things, like if teams don't get you information, I gotta be honest, like there's been teams that don't get us like a roster until we don't even see it until like 15 minutes before we go on, and I am chicken scratching more than I chicken scratch anyways, names down, and I am trying to do the pronunciations myself, and I make sure I read. Oh my, the little guy.
Hey,
dude,
there he is.
He can't hear you guys, but just wave, wave.
Hey, bud. No,
There's my son Lincoln. Yes,
Lincoln's a star. He's a good dude. Love that.
Yeah,
boy.
he is. He just knows he's cute, so he has to show up. All right, go with mommy. I'll be out in a little bit. All right.
I am Super Grover, and I am so cute.
But yeah, like it's there's times like I'm just doing that, and then if I don't care if people come at me like hard with it, saying like this player's name is actually said this way or that. Like I want, and I think it's good that we're on YouTube now. Like if fans are tuning in of the other teams and they have a pronunciation, call me out. I don't care, like because we're not. So I have a soft spot to the other people that are doing these because I know that is happening all around, and a guy like you heard yesterday that I can tell puts in the prep work and everything like that.
Yeah.
How much information did he get?
Right.
Could he have done a little bit more? I think it's all encompassing. So I'm not here to judge.
Well, and that's my
anybody.
thing too. That's my thing too, is like, you could tell he does a lot of hard work. You could tell like he was actually trying, he sounded really good. He did a really good job. I'm not, obviously knocking him for a couple of mispronunciations a little bit, but I do feel like at times, especially now that you're becoming more of a professional league, you think the league would outsource a little bit, maybe just to try and get you guys at least a pronunciation sheet or something, or like even a roster beforehand, so you guys are more well prepped. That's more my running thing.
Just minor things.
Yeah, it's just a minor thing.
I mean, you even see like the Cavs, like they tweet out their starting lineup like maybe like an hour before. Before the game. Now I think media members probably get access to that a little bit sooner. And I think that like that's just the continued evolution and progression of this league that they trying to continue to build. I mean, there's a women's side of the league now too in MLIS and WMLIS. So as continue to grow, I mean, like these are very like minor, like little things in the grand scheme of the whole picture. But yeah, like having if the referees don't need the roster until like, let's say like it's like 6 o'clock or something like that, like an hour before kickoff, like that's totally fine. Like give me a list of like all the names on your roster, like with the pronunciation. And this is in general for all leagues, like just make sure all media members or broadcast teams have all pronunciations. And then all I got to do is then I can highlight those particular names that are now listed as I'm writing them down on their roster for the game. And then, it's like my eyes now zoom in to those names, and it makes it a little easier. Again, these are so like behind the curtain, inside baseball type elements. So I have it's not like I'm bringing up any issues. It's just, it's just like I totally understand the question. And like I said, like very early on, I would have been more frustrated, but now it's more Jana who doesn't want to talk on a microphone. Like it's trickled on down.
You kind of roll with the punches, and you did it in the opener against Chicago when they had one of their players wearing a jersey, a number. You had no idea who it was.
Two, and I didn't notice it until one of them came out like much later in the match, where we ended up getting information. But yeah, like. And again, that's another thing that I understand, because when you it's not like there's like multiple versions of every jersey ready like you have in the NBA or the NFL. Like something gets ripped, so you always have probably like an extra set of jerseys that don't have a name or the team name on the back of it that you bring with you. Because there was a couple of them, they were just the number. All the other ones said Mustangs over the number,
right?
But these jerseys didn't, so I could tell like it was something like a late change, but we just didn't get the information in time. And like, I felt bad. Like, I'm not saying this person's name and they're doing a great job out there, That's what gets me is like, I want to, as much as I am for the Crunch, and we are the home team of it. Like, we're the only broadcast team there. It's not like other teams are bringing theirs as well so that they get their slant version of it. So I want to make sure if someone has a great goal on the other side or a great play on the other side, their name is represented, the team is represented, and the level of intensity and action that you see is well represented in the way that I present that call.
Right. It's respect. It's a level of respect for the profession, and like you said, and for the athletes, the participants, their fans, their family members, their friends. It's a certain level of respect, and I certainly appreciate and respect that for you and such. So
yeah.
Wow. Okay. Let's talk about last night.
Let's
talk about last night. Moving on. The Cleveland Crunch winners in Pittsburgh over Bridge City FC 9-5. We did it without Mikey Derazic, who was out for serving the first of a 4-game suspension. And the coach, Antonio Manfoot, was playing. He suits up. He chips in 2 goals. And then Liam McIntosh in the net. He was the man of the match. He was standing on his head last night. 17 shot attempts, 13 saves. I mean, great game. Jana Schmidt, a couple goals. What were your takeaways from last night's game, Kevin?
Sloppy, but great teams find a way to win in sloppy games and sloppy performances. And I have a feeling I'm saying things that even the team will. Like, I'm not here to be overly critical. I'm just here to be real, and everybody knows I'm going to be real about it. And that's not a performance indicative of who this team is. But the great teams, again, with championship mentality, championship philosophies, championship aspirations, those teams find ways, even through the muck and just the difficult times. I mean, it was difficult to score early, and that's where frustration can set in. If you played soccer, looked at soccer ever, like, you can see like a team they're getting opportunities in front of the net, they're not finishing, and then that frustration starts to bleed in, and it can really affect that confidence level when you're doing that. And this team didn't. You knew it was going to be tough. I mean, there's always going to be, anytime it's Cleveland versus Pittsburgh, there is going to be that underlying rivalry to it, and I think everybody on both sides understands that. We can joke a little bit. We know that Cleveland has suffered a lot in Pittsburgh as of late. But as I tweeted, a football team finally won in Pittsburgh, and it's the team that everybody should get out there and definitely support. But sloppy, they're going to clean it up in training, and they got a team in Lansing coming in that they can definitely put in some goals. But it's that defense that kind of keeps this team in it all the time. And they got a couple late goals in that one, but really it was the defense that allowed that offense to find its footing just enough and finish that one off.
Yeah, for those of you who may not have watched it, first of all, go on to the YouTube channel for the MLS Pro, and you can find the games, the replays. I was watching back a little bit this afternoon, and looking at the box score, like you said, Kevin, it was tough in the early going. Pittsburgh takes the lead 1-0. Then after being tied, they're at 1, they're up 2-1. It wasn't until the latter stages of the second quarter that the Crunch took the lead for good, 3-2, then 4-2, and it maintained 4-2 till deep into the third quarter. And then finally they were able to break through, get some goals. You really have to credit, like you said, the defense. Liam McIntosh, back in minding the net there, certainly was a good one. Pittsburgh, I mean, this was definitely the toughest match of the season so far for Cleveland. Would you say?
Yeah, it was definitely the toughest. And again, I feel like there's part of that is just the natural tension that's between Cleveland and Pittsburgh. But I think also part of that is you tip your hat, you tip your cap to the performance of Bridge City and the effort that they put in. I mean, they were selling out. Guys are going for the turf burns. the goalkeeper, I'm sorry, the name has escaped me. Like I was like listening to the call and like trying to get the pronunciations for when we have to do that against them if that that takes place. So like I'm already doing the studying. Like that's another reason I'm watching these games, and that's how much I feel like those pronunciations are important, as small and minor as that piece is. But I thought the goalkeeper was as good. If this is going to sound bad, but I'm being very respectful, and I like just good soccer. I mean, he was definitely going toe to toe with how Liam McIntosh was playing. I know he gives up 9, but there were a lot of shot attempts that he, in order to keep his team close early and allowing that game to go the way it did, I think that gives a lot of credit to the goalkeeper and the way that he played early to keep the crunch off the board for as long as he did and as little as he did early. And then, just eventually that onslaught is just going to get to you.
Right. And how much, I guess, we're seeing it play out in reality when the crunch is at home. We've got a much larger field. We've got, we've got the size there so you can spread a little bit more. Whereas when we're playing on the road, and even when they played back at the Sportsplex, it's a more condensed field, so you can't spread them as much, and it makes it a little bit more challenging. It's the strategy.
Yeah, I think someone tweeted at me last night too, but number one, they used an expletive in their tweet. So as part of ESPN Cleveland, I don't respond to anything that has expletives. I don't want my name tied to that because we do get in trouble for that, and like helping to if I tweet now, like if I got more followers, the more people are seeing than someone use an expletive. I'm very conscientious of that and the FCC regulations that I'm under at my main job. But also there are not enough characters on X and social media to respond. But someone was asking basically how do these teams get away with having these different size fields? And again, it's a league that is still growing, and new teams are coming in, and they're kind of at the start where the crunch were when they were at the soccer sportsplex and they had to play on that smaller field. But you go play Omaha, and Omaha has that big stadium and the original size fields that we were all used to watching as kids when the crunch were playing against the Baltimore Blast and teams like that. So, it's all part of the growth, and any way that you can get a game in. And these guys know that they've played on many different size fields, and they even play outdoor. I'm sure a lot of them play on the outdoor side of things during those times as well. So they're always adjusting to different sizes and all of that. Even the outdoor fields, there's not actual regulations unless you are over there overseas in England and those types of leagues, that those stadiums are built specifically for that and for those dimensions. So these guys are used to it. All of them, all the players and all of these teams are used to that. So I don't take issue with the size, and maybe people want to talk about how the field looks and all that kind of stuff. This is just the beginning of something that they're trying to make special. It's not to just have something great for 1 year. It's to build something great for sustained success as a league and give competition to where everybody thinks that the crunch should move back to, with the Arena Soccer League. There's 2 different leagues going on right now. Why can't there be 2 that have success? Like that's what they're trying to build with MLIS.
Right. And so 2 things, you already kind of pointed it out, but the one is that even in the Premier League, there are minimum sizes. If we're talking English soccer, there's a minimum that you have to absolutely meet, and then it can be bigger than that. So there are the varying dimensions. So indoor soccer, outdoor soccer, still got the same sort of thing going on.
FA Cup, guys, look at the FA Cup. Like you're facing like a Premier League team sometimes has to go somewhere that's against like the lowest tiers of English soccer. And maybe the dimension, they're going like the minimum, but the stadium doesn't look, it's not, you can tell the difference in level of league, but look, that's why the match is played on the field. And that, as a coach, like this is something I always hung my hat on, and telling my players, like I always had kids that were, like smaller in stature and all of that. But guess what? Outside of the ball being played in the air and like a goalie punting, where is the ball played? It's at your feet. Everybody's feet are where? On the ground. So, that's the biggest thing. And Can you get more? Can you develop and create more opportunities with your ball movement than the other team? More chances you have on goal, the better off you're going to be. So that's the biggest point. And sometimes even in soccer, people say defense wins championships, but in soccer, sometimes your offense is your best defense if you can control the ball, move it around, player to player. That's the biggest thing. So that's why this sport is so unique. And depending, like whatever size the field is, these guys just want to go play. These girls just want to go play the sport that they love, and however they got to do it, they're going to find a way to get it done and make the adjustments that they need to.
So now, Mike, from across the pond, Mike in the UK, how many of the teams in the league, you mentioned Omaha, but I mean, how many other teams have a arena or field that's the size of the Crunches field at the Wolstein Center?
Well, this is where you're going to catch me, is like not being as prepared as I should.
No, that's okay. Well, but how much? I mean, just offhand, if you know, obviously we know it's not. We know it's not.
Well,
Lansing
and
or
Omaha's
Pittsburgh.
not in the league anymore.
Oh, that's
either.
right. That's right.
So like that one's out. I don't know.
I don't think Salt Lake City. I know I watched a couple games on the stream, and
I haven't seen the West Coast teams yet. Like I just haven't had enough time to like watch every team, like even like Vegas coming in and stuff like that. So I'm not sure where they're playing. Like I just need to go dive through YouTube and like even like if it's like 30 seconds of a match and watch it. I mean, I'm watching Bluey. I'm watching like
excellent choice.
Like sea animals. That's what's controlling my TV. So sometimes I gotta do a better job instead of just scrolling forever on TikTok or X. Like do a little bit more research, but. Like even Chicago, that's been with this team for the long time, like that is, I would say their feels like the soccer sportsplex. It's more open. The glass is like you could see through the whole glass, like it's glass all the way down instead of the whiteboard along the edges. So there's definitely a lot more, I think, that are like the soccer sportsplex right now.
Right.
But I think that the way that the fields are set up are unique. I thought yesterday's was kind of in between, I would say, the soccer sportsplex and the Wolstein Center. I thought there was like a good amount of space, just not as much. So it'd be interesting to see how our team like Bridge City that played tough yesterday plays on a field like the Wolstein and like how they adjust. And that's really the biggest thing.
It's all part of the strategy.
Yeah. And, the one thing I wanted to ask too is the fact that, talking about field dimensions and whatnot, and I mentioned this to Coach Manfoot a couple weeks ago, in your eyes, obviously being a former player or coach, whatnot, the difference is, like you said, the Plex to Wolstein to Chicago, Lansing, Fort Wayne, wherever you go, obviously these fields are definitely different. How much does that make a league like this a lot more difficult than you see on, TV or, you see just going to your local soccer match or a college match, because obviously playing in an open area stadium like the Wolstein is a lot different than playing at the Plex where you have a net that's hanging 6 feet off the ground and you have to mind yourself. Like I'm almost taller than the net, so I got to be careful with what I do here. I
mean, you saw with Liam yesterday. I mean, he was hitting the net a lot with those outlet passes because now he's used to, and I know they practice at the soccer sportsplex. Their training is out there at the soccer sportsplex. But even having an opportunity to play at the Wolstein Center, then the very next week you're going back to a field that has that net over the top. Like that is an adjustment within itself that it takes a little while. And I think so. It does make this league difficult. I think what's important for everybody to understand about this sport is we do, and I'm sure people have different names for it, but we used to call it keep away. And it was literally you're not trying to score a goal. You're just trying to possess the ball as a team, and you would be given certain different size of areas with those little cones on the ground. And again, you're not trying to score, you're just trying to keep possession and movement within a small space. So really the way that soccer teams work, and even when you're on the big field and you see like all the players condensed because of the offside traps, and now we're getting too deep in X's and O's, but like these guys are so used to playing in small spaces that it should actually, technically, it should be easier to go to a bigger field like the Wolstein Center. But again, that's where conditioning then comes in, because now you're used to, running up and down a shorter field. Now you got to go to a bigger field and you're not practicing on that. You're not used to it. Those are all the adjustments, but everybody's got to adjust to it. Like the Crunch went from Wolstein Center to where Bridge City was playing, and it was an adjustment for them to go back to that smaller field, even though they practice on it. It's all part of the mentals and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
At the end of, well, so two things. One is that how good is it or important is it for the Crunch to have some of these tougher matchups like they had yesterday versus the first few games have kind of been cakewalks of sorts. How much can that help them going forward to have these kinds of battles?
It's important because it's all part of the mental side of it. You need to go through the trials and tribulations. You need to face some adversity. Again, like I always try to use like all these different sports to compare. So like even the average sports fan can come in, they can understand what they're seeing. And if you're an Ohio State fan, as great as they were in the regular season this year as an Ohio State football team, did they face adversity? They really didn't. And when they faced adversity, they didn't know how to handle it. And you could see that out there on the field. So if you have championship aspirations, Cavs are going through it right now. If they come through this inconsistent start, this adversity, unlike last year where it came very easy early and then struggled late, if they can come through that adversity, I think it's going to help them make that run that everybody wants them to make in the playoffs. Same thing for the Crunch. Like if you have all these games where you're just scoring a bunch and then you get to the playoffs and it's the top of the top, and teams maybe you haven't faced because you do have a North and South division, or the split of the country right now where you're not traveling as far during the regular season. If you don't face that adversity when it comes up, it's very difficult to get that mind to flip very quickly. That's why this whole flip the switch thing with the Cavs, I hate talking about it because they can't, I'm going to say it, they can't do that, and they understand that. There's exception to every rule. Guess who the exception is every rule in the game of basketball? LeBron James. That's why it worked. So I know these guys have been around the block, but you can't just assume, that experience is going to be able to allow you to flip that switch very quickly. So I think facing these levels of adversity, and even, getting the red card and suspension for Mikey, and, the red card to your captain yesterday.
I was going to ask you that. What is he going to face? Do you think he might face any discipline from that? I know this is all mere
they've set the
speculation.
standard, right? They've set the standard of a red card does at least get you reviewed for suspension.
Okay.
So I think in that case, there would probably only be one because there wasn't as much. Didn't have anything go on beyond what happened inside the walls. There was a lot more that went on. I think that even people saw as to why, Mikey and even, who was it? Morales, I think it was for Chicago. Like Mikey got 4, he got 3. Like, again, there was more stuff that went on beyond that. There was a lot of tape and probably a lot of phone cameras and TikTok videos of that stuff that they had to review. So I think with this, there'll definitely be a review. I don't know if his suspension is going to come down. I hear the news when you guys do, but and I know Dave knows this. I know the guy on the other side for Bridge City knows this, but we all been in that heat of battle and the emotions and when they take over. But these guys need to be on the field for their team, and those are moments where you want the guys to have better judgment, but you also understand it's easy to say that, it's not easy to do when you got that adrenaline running and you're not hearing what guys are saying to each other. So, it's not to make excuses. It's not to condone it.
We've got no time for excuses.
But we've all been there. We've all been there, and we know what's going on in our little space right there. Whatever happened between Dave and the other player, there's more to the story than we actually get to know.
Right. Well, that's no way to get ahead in life. I mean, cooler heads need to prevail. Yesterday. Okay. No, sorry. All these bad jokes. I'm going back to my Austin Powers, watching experience there with the terrible jokes.
Nobody wins with a headbutt.
No, no, nobody does. And actually, it was funny. You talked about the cell phone footage and videos from last week. Drew, he drew it up very nicely. We had a whole conversation about that and looking at the actual play that led to it. So there was definitely a lot to discuss there. But
also the good side of all that phone coverage that they got to use for review probably is there's people that posted all of that are basically saying they never They've never been to a soccer match before. That was the first thing they went to. They're gonna go out to more. Guess what? Not only can the Crunch promote, and we can promote through this for people to come out, that's going to be the best form of promotion. So if you go to a game you've never been before, you like what you see, post wherever and everywhere.
Yes.
Allow it to get on people's algorithm, your For You pages, everything like that. Like that's going to be the biggest draw to allow that 2,400 to be a number that's the lowest attendance of the season, and it continues to go up. Like unlike other teams where the home opener is great and then the numbers drop for a while. We want to see that number go up every single match.
Yeah, definitely. So next week, the Crunch returns back to the Wolstein Center Saturday night to take on Red Cedar or Lansing. They took them soundly in the opener this season, 17-6. Game was decided early, but they seem to be hitting their stride a little bit. They're now, I believe, if I'm looking correctly, they're 4-3. They got a win today over the Mustangs, 11-10. That was an interesting broadcast. Kevin, did you catch that?
That guy always brings some that guy's got some character, and I love listening to him. Listening to him.
Well, were you enjoying the part that was in English or the part in Spanish? I didn't.
So I didn't get a chance to tune into all of it. I did see that they were live on Facebook. I tuned in for a little bit. I think it was 9-9 at that point. So I know that Lansing was, they had their offense humming just like the Mustangs did, and that's momentum that you can definitely carry over. Like that's just because you lost 17-6 and you're coming to a field that you're not used to, like a bigger field, like that offensive momentum, like you can move that, take that week to week. So the Crunch and their defense are going to have to be on their P's and Q's with a team that is humming offensively. But I do know that he does go between Spanish and English. Like he also understands the audience that he has there in Chicago, and like the soccer community there, it is bilingual. And it doesn't bother me at all. Like I know what I like, but also I know what I'm seeing. So like in my head, like I don't know what he's saying in Spanish, but I'm basically translating because I know what my call would sound like because I can only speak English. Like my son is watching videos that are in Spanish and things. We think he may have said muy gusto or something like that today while watching a video that was in Spanish. So like, hey, if the more you know, the more information and knowledge you have, the better off you are, because then you have more job opportunities open up for you too. So I'm all good with it.
Yeah, speaking of next week, I know obviously we mentioned the two red cards that we had with Darisic and obviously David Jordan. Going into a game like Lansing, like Ethan said, things could be a lot different. How big is it to not have two really key guys on this roster that make a massive difference? How does it really affect going into this this coming weekend, on Saturday?
Yeah, I think it's more so from a leadership standpoint. That's not to downplay the impact they have on the field. We know how great Mikey Darisic is. We know how great Dave Jordan is, and that left-footed rocket coming off of set pieces, free kick opportunities deep in the other team's territory is vital. So they are amazing players, and there's no replacing that. It takes multiple guys to replace that kind of production. But I like the biggest piece is the leadership. Mikey's been around the whole time. Dave's been the captain around this whole time. So like their leadership through some of those tough times is what's missed, and it forces younger guys to now step up in a leadership role they may not feel ready for. But when you're with the Crunch, you're expected to have that type of mentality right from the start. If you're going to play for this team, you're going to put that crest on with the 5 stars above it. You better be ready to step up in moments like that. People hate cliches in sports, but cliches are around so much because they become so true. And it's next man up mentality. And that's not just coach speak. That's not just player speak. It has to be executed on the pitch.
Definitely. To kind of follow up on Drew's question about the impact of not having Mikey and potentially not having Dave Jordan out there. Mm-hmm. If things go as they currently are, the last game of Mikey's suspension will be when Cleveland goes to Toronto. Toronto currently sitting atop the table just by the matter of fact that they've played 6 games and the Crunch have only played 4. How tough of a matchup is that going to be? It was nip and tuck last year, a heck of a matchup between those two teams. Man, what kind of water are they drinking in Toronto?
I mean, you're gonna need some more of that Brian Kern magic. That's getting that win in overtime last year, because Toronto was kind of starting to have our number a little bit, and they were definitely the team that was finding the mixture, the potion, however you want to say, of answering the questions that the Crunch posed, like being able to answer those and fight back with their own answers and begging questions of the Crunch and defensively and things like that. So it's definitely a vital loss, especially in the offensive end. But there's so much firepower on this team, and I think that's the most important part. Is while they didn't score as much as they are capable of doing yesterday, I think even those guys, even without Admir and Aiden and McCain, who I know is dealing with a little bit of an injury, and even Musa in net, like, without those guys, there's plenty of guys that can make up for the production. I may sound like a broken record, and yes, I understand that reference too. I know I'm younger, but I understand that reference, and I still use it to this day as myself. The leadership is what's going to be key, and as long as you got enough of that leadership there, and guys continue to develop their own voice as younger players on the squad, that's where you miss that type of element in a tough environment like Toronto and a team that you match up well against, and it's going to be tight the entire match.
Yeah, and I think that there's also opportunity, I believe you mentioned this, for the younger players to step up and take on larger roles when your usual leaders are not out there. It's just great experience as you move throughout the season. So a lot to look forward to. Kevin, we have taken up a lot of your valuable family time here this evening, and want to.
I mean, you see that they just come in anyway, so it doesn't
and
matter.
that's okay. We enjoy all of that here. Really want to again thank you. Appreciate your time for being here. Appreciate the work you do. Not only calling the Crunch games, the play-by-play, the fact that you promote the game of soccer, and you are a good ambassador for the sport in Cleveland. Very, very well spoken, and we do appreciate having you as one of the voices of our professional teams there. So, Kevin, why don't you just tell us once again, if you don't mind, where can we find you on social media? I know your Twitter handle is up there, but any other places we can look for you, and what's anything big coming up besides the Crunch?
Man, big coming up. I don't think so. Unless people are out at the station.
Rides again.
Oh, no. Yeah. So nothing big coming up, but the X handle's there, Kevin7. That's something I got from some of my other buddies at OMS. I think my handle at that time was Never Just a Game 6, because I always say, I tell people it's never just, don't let people tell you it's just a game. That quick little aside, that just comes from my family telling me that, when I would get upset that my team's lost, like it was just a game, but they were saying in a way like that my passion for sports didn't matter. Like I should only be focused on this profession or that profession, that type of thing. So it's not, I understand that there's bigger things in life than sports. And at the end of the day, a lot of these things are just games. But if you're passionate about sports, you're passionate about the theater, you're passionate about mathematics, you're passionate about, the art that you do, singing, whatever it is, like people are going to tell you that you shouldn't be as passionate about it. Don't let people do that to you. Like that's the main part of that message. But basically, they said, like, let's have some fun with it. Let's post a Twitter poll to the people that listen to our show at the school, and like what it should be. And then it turned into like, oh, let's have fun with words. So, because my name is spelled with an A-N instead of an I-N. I know, like it's not it's not real. It's not, it's Kevan and not Kevin. It's whatever. I don't care. You can spell it however you want. You'll find me. But I will say, as a promoter of the game of soccer, basically I'm trying to turn my Instagram and my Instagram story into promotion for soccer. So like anytime I am on Instagram, which is not as much anymore, basically my story becomes a repost of highlights of soccer highlights. So just people can see the beautiful game some way. So that's Kevan Arnold 16 on that one. So just follow the Crunch, get your tickets. If you can't watch the games, we'll try to give you as much fun as possible. I can't thank you guys enough for the promotion that you guys are doing. This podcast is amazing, promoting this team, but promoting the sport as well. I thank you guys for having me on, and you guys are doing great work. And if there's anybody I can get to, just even one person that was never into the sport, into it a little bit, that's the best thing, the best gift we can get out of this.
We are all fighting the good fight. We are all doing our best here. Well, Kevan, thank you so much for taking the time away from your family on this evening. Really do appreciate that. And looking forward to all that is coming the remainder of the season. Again, everybody, Crunch will be back in action at the Wolstein Center on Saturday night, the 24th, as they will take on Red Cedar. And folks, that is going to do it for us here tonight. For our guest, Kevan Arnold, and for Drew Hagenbaugh, I am Ethan Greenberg, and you have been tuned in to the Let's Go Crunch podcast, part of the Land Media Group.